Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 79 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. Welcome back. I'm Ben, and once again, I'm joined by Blood-type Ben. How you doing, BT?
Hello, how you doing?
Not bad, man. You all right?
Oh, I asked first. Yeah, I'm keen.
I like it. I like it. And as we're doing a video version, you can see up here that we are also joined today by Sam Frenzy Garner. How you doing, Sam?
Howdy.
Howdy.
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Playing it cool. Playing it cool. I like it. Right, well, guys, thank you very much for joining us for some Blood Bowl today. BT, lay it on us, man. What's on episode 79?
Today we've got some fun topics. We're going to be talking about getting some tournament teams paint ready pretty quick. We've all been in that boat, and I think we can all give our own opinions and tips. We'll be talking about fixing goblins, or trying to potentially fix goblins, because they're not brilliant at the moment. And we'll also be predicting some results for Bombvember, which is the upcoming tournament in a couple of weeks.
Exactly. So goblins are lagging behind like a massive amount when it comes to constructed Blood Bowl, i.e. tournaments and things like that. So we scrounged very far and wide and hard and discovered that actually Sam Frenzy Garner won the Stunty tournament, won the Stunty Cup at our last tournament running goblins. So figured it was great. It was appropriate to blackmail him to come on the show so we can talk about actually winning with goblins, whether they're terrible, whether it's going to be okay. So yeah, seemed like a decent shout, Sam. Well, you kind of just narrowly beat your brother out when it came to the Stunty, but
just about.
As he was running the Griff Ogrewold build, wasn't he?
Yeah. Griff and all the ogres.
Griff and the Ogres. There you go. There's a band for the ages. Right, let's go into Blood Bowl news.
Let's go.
Okay, so Blood Bowl news-wise, there's actually a couple of Games Workshop things. We've already taken a big dive into the Khorne team, a couple of episodes, but I mean, we've got Sam here, Sam Frenzy Garner, not just, not just a fun name. Sam's also a bit of a pro when it comes to Khorne. What do you reckon to the new Khorne team, Sam?
Sad to see the loss of all the demons, but well, I mean, it ticks all the boxes, doesn't it?
Do you think we'll lose the demons of Khorne as well?
Sorry, in the team itself.
Yeah, but do you think we'll see them run like, because there's the NAF one, isn't there, from Blood Bowl 1, like, and then GW have released the new Khorne one, or are releasing the new Khorne one. I mean, do you think they're going to Do you think they're going to get rid of demons of Khorne, or still run it as a viable option as well?
Yeah, I reckon they're too similar, and the NAF will stop running them.
I think that'd be a shame. Although, because I don't know, I mean, I like this new Khorne one. The strength 4 boys are just pretty potent.
Yeah, I think I think we're going to see that with every. So like there was a theories running around, wasn't there? Everyone was talking about maybe they're going to do a Slanesh team and a Tzeentch team, and I reckon they'll be the same. Just strength 4 boys, couple of beastmen, flavored blue or purple, and and then like your basic linemen.
Well, you say that. I mean, I think the biggest bit of news we should go for right now, which is the fact that we've got a preview on Saturday. We've got a big Games Workshop
pretty
preview,
exciting.
and they've bandied around the Blood Bowl logo. So Ben had this.
I don't know what this is going to be. Like, I mean, it's quite a big announcement, and they've just announced the Khorne team. They it could be Blood Bowl 3 related, but it seems weird to do that at a Games Workshop preview because that's kind of like not their thing. And a whole new team after this is going to be pretty weird to like announce so close to the other one. So.
And on the screen behind us, we've got the Croxagore that was announced this week. So I don't know if you guys have missed this news this week. Was it on the Monday, the pitch side report? The Croxagore was previewed, and it is a very cool model. Like,
I love this.
Love it.
It's worth the wait for sure.
I think someone joked. Yeah,
that was me.
I think someone checked that he was going to be coming out. Yeah, yeah, and then it actually was.
No, I think Rick put in there like in the group chat like, "Oh, the Croxagore," and I just put laughing faces. So I was like, "Yeah, maybe one day." And I was like, "No, no, 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 no. Genuinely, it's just been announced." Which, to be fair, like we've had a lot of Blood Bowl news recently. Ben, you called it. We've had the Corn team. We've seen the Blood Beast. We've got a bunch of star players that have just dropped. I've got Wilhelm and Creek right here. Haven't built them yet, but they're great models. We've got the Croxagore news as well. But yeah, you're right. We've got this Games Workshop announcement, and there says there's going to be a bit of Blood Bowl news in there as well. I mean, I think the way they do their previews and stuff is infuriating, potentially, is the accurate term for this, right? So we've got a team that we're pending, we've got star players that we're pending, and I don't know, like, do you think they could show another team? I mean, what could it not be? If it's not another team, what could it be?
They could. Snotlings came out pretty close to like Necromantic Black Orcs. They came out alongside the undead. What the undead flavor? Necromantic. Did I
Yeah,
say a Necromantic already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Necro Nobles.
Yeah, and Nobility. That's
Orcs.
the one I meant to say.
Yeah.
Nobility, Necromantic, and Black Orcs all came out kind of at the same time. So it's not like beyond them to release two teams pretty back to back. We could see that happen maybe the start of the new year or the end of this year.
We don't normally
or
see
it might
them
just
layer.
be an announcement to say, hey, that Corn team. Oh, sorry, say again?
We don't normally see them layer their releases like we do with this in AOS and stuff all the time, don't we? Like, well, I suppose they
Yeah.
layered the Tree Man release, like, and spoiled that, and then went and released an entire game before they actually released the Tree Man or something absurd. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's
he
true.
did get 8 straight away.
Oh, yeah,
With the 3.
top tier star. All right, but that's all right. It would be amazing if it was a team. It would be amazing if it was the Squig team. If it was the Slanesh team, Ben wins. But like, if it's not going to be a team, do you think it might be something? I don't. Wow, this is bad. I don't want to say lame, but lame, like an almanac.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it might be. It might be like the annual. It's been a year since we've had this edition. It's time for an almanac, and you can get like a spike on top of your other book.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had that many releases this year, all things considered.
It will be Spike 11 and the referee rules, and
Yeah.
yeah. Spike 13 absolutely won't be in it. So yeah, I hope it's not going to be the almanac. Like, but if we see another team, that'd be amazing. I mean, some of the most outlandish rumors are obviously, which gets brought up every year, Dungeon Bowl, but that I just feel like there'd be a much bigger hubbub about it. I think they're going to sneak this in at 2:37 when they're just wrapping up the stream, and it's going to be Rumbelow Sheepskin, the star player that we've all forgotten that we don't have yet, like the star player equivalent of the Croxagore. I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see what everyone thinks is gonna happen on Saturday. Saturday is my Tiffs at Work catch up with the podcast day, so I'll be watching the stream. So if anything fun comes out, we can kind of share the info. But before we move on to the other bits and bobs of Blood Bowl news, Sam, Ben, if they could drop one bit of Blood Bowl news on Saturday, what would you want it to be? Because
I think for me, it would. At this point, I think all I'm interested in is new teams. I think the game's in a good place. I like when a team gets released. I really like the talk that we have about like roster buildings and like the potentials this opens up. I think outside of maybe some kind of like change the way they do star players, like the star player book could be quite interesting. I think outside of that, just a new team I think would satisfy me the most.
yeah, what about you, Sam?
yeah, I'm with Ben. I'm kind of over like gimmicks, like special weather tables and that kind of stuff. It's a bit, it's not really what I'm after. They don't really get used. But new teams definitely, or a big star player release, like a lot of star players at once, like a star player spike or an almanac or something with all of them in it.
So I do like that angle because that is definitely something that they could be doing. That's something that could be coming. We've got Creek, and we're all assuming that he's going to be in Spike 13, but what if he's not in Spike 13? What if he's in Spike 14 or the star player Blood Bowl companion that they drop, along with Ripper and Fungus the Loon and stuff like that, and bring it back? That would be an awesome influx. As long as there's some stars that are kind of garbage but exist only to counter other star players, which I think would be incredibly useful. I don't know, like, I'd love to see another team. Squig team would be amazing. Some kind of Noblar Trapper team for stunties would be great, where they can just, got that swarming element. But I mean, I love ogres, so, it's all good. I'd love another team. Star players I'll take. Dungeon Bowl, whoa, would be absolutely awesome.
I'd rather see a team of legend get a rework than a brand new team, I think. I'd love to see Khemri or High Elves brought into line properly redone.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a team of legend between Grebo and Punga, they're about to drop an absolute half dozen teams to get teams of legend caught up, and this is it. I'm a bit worried that they're going to release these 2 Kickstarters and have these amazing teams come out, and then Games Workshop are going to choose one of the teams of legend to give the Batman treatment, right? To redo it.
That would kind of suck.
Yeah. It would be absolutely brutal. The good thing about those companies, especially Grebo, is that they tend to bounce real quick. Like when the Black Orc team got released, they just created some more Black Orcs for their Orc team so that you could get that team really quickly. So if if they do drop like a Chorf edition or something, I think they'd be up on it really, really, really quickly. Anyway, so big stuff coming out this Saturday, potentially. Probably not, but you never know. It could be really good. The Croxagore has been spoiled. It'll be interesting to see when he's coming out. No rules changes for that. So if you've ever wanted a Croxagore and you haven't found one by now, Games Workshop will do another one, and looks like it's Forge World, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they're very well painted. I'll give them that.
Yeah, available for pre-order soon. Doesn't actually say whether it's Forge World or not, I don't think. But I mean, it looks like it.
It will be. It will be.
This looks like Windsor Chog.
Does, yeah. Really big time.
This guy really looks like Windsor Chog style. So
it's almost the same pose as
I think they're all kind of. I mean, at least they're on 2 feet. Like this is this is something. Now we've got some very cool star players coming soon, and I know that the meta is like up in arms against those star players, but actually they are a cool element, and the fact that so many teams can take them makes them kind of worthwhile picking up a lot of the time. The good thing is Creek, who has landed, is a chunk of resin. Like, this guy is massive. So Creek Rust Gouger, who we don't have rules for. We now have Rumbelow with rules and no model, and we have Creek Rust Gouger, model with no rules. So quite interesting to see how long we're going to wait to see how the Verminator plays out. I think we've got a pretty good idea of what he's going to be. And then we've got Wilhelm Chaney, which is quite a good model. But again, I'm not sure. They're in the bath at the moment, like they're washing up, so I can glue them together on Saturday. The scale will be interesting, but honestly, Creek is massive. Like, I've sort of emptied the packet into the bowl of water, and this just big splash happened because this rock of resin dropped out. So he's looking appropriate.
That's kind of what we like to see, though, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's it from a Games Workshop Blood Bowl news-wise. We've got one Kickstarter to talk about now, but obviously Grebo and Punga are brewing up some Chaos Dwarves and others, and there will be more news about those soon. And they are, all of them, looking really, really sweet. Rough and Tumble is a game being made. Now, don't worry too much about the game, but it's being made by Cross Lances. Now, Cross Lances did the murdery princess ones, did the leprechaun team, I think. Ben, is that right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
This is the Hucheron that Triple O loves, and it did in fact flag us up with this one. So this is called Rough and Tumble, and smuggled down deep inside what it looks to be quite an interesting game, like hex-based chess, basically, with some honestly just kind of Mordheim models, which is pretty cool. They've got halflings and they've got Skaven, and there is a halfling and a Skaven fantasy football team in there. And they look very similar to Myth and Goal kind of style. Like, they don't look Blood Bowl proportioned. They look kind of probably more realistic proportioned when it comes to these. Rat Ogre model is quite cool. They've got linemen, they've got runners, They are on the slight size, I think, but normally it's STL style with these, so you can just print them up. And when it comes to price wise, it's £12 for a halfling fantasy football team. It's £13 for a rat fantasy football team. And normally there's a double, £24 for 2 fantasy football teams. And the cool thing about 3D printing is you can scale them up or down. So if you're in the market for an alternative halfling or Skaven team, Cross Lances has got you covered. I don't think, well, I mean, 3D print Skaven team wise, Punga's probably leading the way with that one. But as for halflings, when it comes to 3D printed, it's kind of leprechauns or these ones, I think.
I think this is definitely my favorite one. Like, this is very like D&D halfling proportions, where
Yeah.
they, like you say, they're kind of like more realistic. They just remind me of like D&D halflings, which I actually really like, and they do really look the part for Blood Bowl. Like, if these were released, at any point in the past like 20 years, they could have been like official.
Yeah,
I do like them a lot.
Yeah, I get that, man. Especially they got the spikes, they've got the armor, they've got the pauldrons. They just look very appropriate. Oh no.
Yeah,
Am I gonna have to back this now?
yeah, I've already done that.
I do like Cross Lance's stuff. Every single Kickstarter that they do gets better. Like the sculpting quality. I do think they peaked with the princesses. I think that cartoony element of like their sculpting style, they executed that brilliantly. But they've done some really, really, really great stuff. So Blood Bowl news. We've got the big stuff coming on Saturday. Maybe we'll have some cool Blood Bowl stuff. We've got star players coming out. We've got the Corn team landing soon. Not going to land soon enough for Bombvember, which is a shame, because it would have been great to get them to the pitch. But earliest now, guys, would be Sunday pre-order announcement for pre-order the following Saturday. So earliest we're looking at like the 13th of November, I guess, as for a Corn release.
Yeah, I'm ambitious. Oh, sorry, I'm optimistic that it will come before Christmas, but I'm not crossing my fingers for it.
It does feel like with the
It could be the release though. It could be the announcement. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm setting my expectations very, very low. Although, because I think it's a case of actually, you know what, we've got Corn now, so everything else is a bit of a win. I wasn't ever expecting them to do a Corn team. I was absolutely wanting them to do a Corn team, and I still want them to do Slaanesh and Tzeentch as well, just because why would you not? Like, genuinely, why would you not at this point?
Equal treatment.
But I don't know, there's just a bit of design space there. I'm still pitching for another stunty team. I don't care what it is. I just maybe better goblins. I don't know. But we'll talk about goblins in a minute. I think that wraps up the news, so we'll bounce into hobby. Okay, so let's talk hobby. I can see that Ben's painting, and I'm pretty sure that Sam's painting at the moment as it is. So, guys, games, buying, painting, building, what's on the table? Sam, we'll start with you.
So, obviously, I haven't left the Bonvember team to the last minute. They're definitely not sat on the desk half painted. I'm a fair way through, and I've got a week left, so they'll be done. That'll be fine. But I've actually been working on. I've had a couple of palette cleansers, random minis that I've had printed and sent to me. They're like not anything to do with Warhammer. They've been like D&D kind of characters or that sort of thing, but which I don't even play tabletop. But they've just been really fun to paint, just as like a side project.
It's such a joy, isn't it? Like, it's like a way of like, I've always found that if you sort of like slip out of the hobby and you want to like just get back into painting, just finding something that's really random, that's unrelated to a game, and just painting something that you love, is really cool.
So there was no pressure to get them done. Mm-hmm. So I was painting it because I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was able to practice some new like techniques or just a few different styles while painting them, because they're not going to be used for anything. They're just going to gather dust now, but they were good for practice and really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, that gin you did was really cool.
I love it. Yeah. Still, like I've never really had it before. You ever get like really proud of a paint job that you've done, and you can't help but sort of occasionally, because you sat on my desk, just pick him up and look at him and think, I did that.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
I always have one in front of me. Yeah.
The one that always gets me is the giant. That's
Giant.
my one. Anyway, so Sam, you've been trying out some new technique, going for the quartered color scheme on a Space Marine as well.
Yeah, so I did the unthinkable, and to be fair, I didn't buy him. We dug him out of the attic because I knew we had Marines somewhere. Just again, one random Space Marine. Don't plan on doing like an army. Just get to try some new stuff out.
It's a good
Brilliant.
way to, like Ben said, it's a good way to inspire you into the hobby to just, I don't know, just try
And now
just paint something.
And I feel kind of rejuvenated, so I can go back to doing the dwarfs without feeling like I've burnt out on them.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Honestly, really good idea.
Hang on, dwarfs.
Yeah.
Oh, did I let the cat out of the bag there?
What is
the Bombvember team?
Oh, okay. I'm surprised.
I meant to send you my roster anyway. Well, we'll talk about it when we get to Bombvember, all right? Let's not spoil it too soon.
It's going to massively affect Ben's predictions here.
Yeah. Let's get the predictions done first. Right, I actually do have, a giant picture of Sam's genie. I'm still working there. I'm still scrolling it down. Man, your camera's good. So BT, your painting, is it Necrons? Is it Blood Bowl?
Currently, I'm actually doing a something that's not a Necron. It's I took on another commission from actually a fan of the podcast. I won't dox them though because I haven't said they wanted to be revealed. But they approached me and said, "Hey, I want to I do fancy doing a halfling team?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." When the Necrons thing sort of dies down a bit. Necron things has kind of died down a bit. I've still got more to do, but I'm on track to finishing it by the deadline. So I thought I'll take a little bit of a palette cleanser as well, and I'll reach out and do these halflings. And they're coming to Bonvember, so I've dug myself a grave and trying to paint this whole commission in a week, which is kind of what inspired the topic that we're talking about, and is why I'm currently painting as we talk.
I do love that. I do love that.
So I mean, deadlines get jobs done, so.
That is basically going to be what our main topic is about for today. I've got pens. I've got Sam's genie up here, and yeah, man, you did a great job with the skin pickouts, the layering. It's like some parts of it almost look cell shaded. It's awesome.
Well, that was the big thing I wanted to try, was so that all of the skin, all the blue, there's no washes on it. So a lot of the time, I call it cheating. It's not cheating because washes are a big part of painting, but I've never really gone and layered up skin like that. I normally one layer, wash it, then just quick highlight. But that was sort of layered up from the base.
No, absolutely.
It's really smooth.
Yeah.
I get such Dragon Ball vibes from this guy.
That's what I'm
It's probably the color scheme.
Definitely. No, that is something to really be proud of. Cool. That is an excellent paint job. Proper leveled up there. Really cool to see. I haven't painted anything with that much care and attention for a long time. Which will definitely come in handy though in the main topic. So hobby wise, I've done no hobby. It has been a ridiculously busy 3 weeks. We were getting ready for the wedding, had the wedding, then went straight on honeymoon, which was awesome, and came back and literally had a day, and then started my new job, and then got to the weekend, and then had another wedding where we went away for the weekend. But it's really nice wedding, 2 really nice weddings, and now this week is kind of just catching up with the real world. I printed some stuff, which was nice. I printed some spaceships, just as you guys said, just a palette cleanse. I was like, right, let's get the printer going. What can I print off? Oh, they've got these cool spaceships. Let's print them off. That'd be nice. And then tried to print off the bases, and it all went horribly wrong. Because printing bases is just unnecessarily difficult. Printing circles is hard. Because you either have to
really hard.
You either have to print them flat on the base, or, which is bad, which is what I did with a raft, but a 0.3 mil raft, which was too small. which meant I had to like crack it off. That was awful. I had to order a Stanley knife just to get it off the plate. It's not fun. Or you kind of have to like you have to support it, and what happens is like the ring around the bottom of the base it is just a bit jagged and a bit garbagey.
Yeah, it just gets gnarled up.
Yeah, it's bad times. So
I find it's just generally a thing with printing. It's like the flatter something is, the worse it's going to come out. Like the easiest things, the things that are like really complex and like have loads of surfaces, because you don't get the lines on them as obvious either.
yeah, just prints
It's
out.
just flat surfaces. They struggle.
Prints out nice. But no, cool ships, and that's fun. And there's nothing to print Blood Bowl wise at the moment for me, which is quite nice. I did smash out the painting of a giant just before, just so we could film the 3 giant games, which have been outrageously fun. So, I mean, doing a bit of Blood Bowl talk, as we tend to do on this podcast. Giants, they're so fun. 350,000 as an inducement. Like, they're not cheap, right? And definitely the right thing to do is to take Hackflem if you can. But Mighty Blow +2 multiple block is just awesome when you're strength 7. That's 2 strength 5 blocks. It's wicked, and they're movement 7, and everyone forgets about the giant blitz because 7 squares of movement is a monstrous amount of pitch. Like one of the games I played with them, one of the coaches was contemplating trying to get the ball to the giant because that was 14 plus squares of movement, and was like, actually, I can score if the giant gets the ball here. And yeah, you can, because that's 18 squares. Is that 18 squares with some rushes that the giant can get? It's just got Edge 5+ though, which does suck a bit. But they have been such good fun, and hilariously they get drawn to each other. But I think if a team could take a giant and the other one couldn't, it would be a very good equalizing factor. Sadly, and this falls the same with all kind of star players and stuff, I think Hackflem and a wizard is going to be better than a giant, because you get Hackflem's Edge all the time, and the wizard fireball gets you the opportunity to create a turnover to pop out a ball so that you can swoop in and get it with your outrageous Edge 1+ thing. I think that's probably a better combo if you're 350 down and you can take Hackflem. But I don't know. I strongly recommend anybody who's got a league or anything like that, or just a day to play Blood Bowl, have a giant week or a giant day, because it's completely different. Like, I've definitely played suboptimally because I was like, ooh, giant, like, let's do things with the giant. If I'd just not used the giant, I probably would have played better. But I don't know, man, just when you knock down 2 people in one turn with a giant piece, and then Mighty Blow +2, and it's just wicked. Like, that's probably been my Blood Bowl highlight for the last multiple months, is just having giants everywhere. So good. 10 out of 10. Would recommend.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, did like that. Games wise, have you guys got any fun games in recently?
We played a game against each other, didn't we, Sam?
We did actually. Yeah, I was just popped into my mind as well.
Yeah,
really
I think that's the only tabletop game I've played recently in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we tried
Hipster
one-page
Hammer.
rules. Yeah. I've seen this like on social media and like YouTube and stuff like pop up more and more frequently. And yeah, we gave it a go, and it's just sort of like it's kind of like an open source like Warhammer template. I can best describe it. It's all like community funded and stuff, and they've got like quite a successful Patreon, and they've pretty much broken down Warhammer into its kind of like a core game that is kind of easier to refine, easier to like balance and things like that, and it's just simple and fun, and we had a great time.
Yeah. You hit the head the way you described it, didn't you? It's like they've got a bunch of different like Warhammer kind of games. They've got the fantasy, they've got like the sci-fi, and and then you've got the skirmish size or the war game size. But they've all, at their core, they've all got the same kind of rules. You know, everything behaves the same, moves the same. You've got the same actions you can take. Weapons do basically the same thing, and so if you can play one, you can play them all, and it doesn't take long to learn, did it? What was it? That was our first time playing, and it took us, was it an hour and a half to play like a double-sized battle?
Yeah. It's just so smooth, and like we tried, even if they've got some the core game is free, but they've got some optional, like back the Patreon, and got some optional extra rules like the full rule book. And we tried some things from that. So like there's like a fatigue mechanic that we tried out, which didn't come up too much, but I think could be interesting in a bigger battle, especially with like skeletons or something.
Don't talk to me about skeletons.
I wonder if we could chat with them and see if they wanted to make a one-page rules fantasy football game.
Maybe. I think Blood Bowl's in a pretty good space, though. It doesn't need
going
anything
after. They seem to be going after everything, don't they?
Yeah, that's true. There is a Battlefield Gothic one, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Like Blood Bowl was in a very good rule space, but like it is nice to see these other games take a bit of traction. I think the first time I ever experienced this was with oh man, what the Rick Priestley game? Was it Black Powder? Oh, Hail Caesar. When he did Hail Caesar, and it was like a different take on Warhammer. That, and when Mantic released Kings of War, and it was like, oh, there's a different way to play. Like you can key in to different things, and I love the Age of Sigmar models, but the game is just, I have more fun at work. You know, there's a lot of like study, and I don't know, it feels like if they took like a miniature war game and the least fun bits of Phoenix Wright and made it like a courtroom war game, it's like, oh my god, right, it's as if Yu-Gi-Oh was based on a miniatures game, not a card game. That's how I see Age of Sigmar.
Yeah,
that's pretty accurate. Yeah, it's got some comparisons to Yu-Gi-Oh for sure.
You've seen the
and I'm Joey,
meme, haven't you? The Yu-Gi-Oh power creep one, where it's and now, have you seen that? And
no,
like
no.
So the image is like, then was like, I can't remember the name of the card, but the card's description was like, this card gains 300 attack power for every dragon your opponent controls. Nice and simple. And then now it's like the card has like a wall of text, and it's like an XYZ fusion dragon, and it's like 3 or 4 paragraphs of text, and the guy's like, I don't know what this means. That's how I feel about Age of Sigmar. Like, everyone complained that fantasy was complicated, but man, I don't understand Age of Sigmar. Like, I don't get it.
You don't whip out your proprietary dual scope and with like a little microscope to read your card.
Yeah, that's why I love Blood Bowl. It's because there's a ton of stuff you can bolt on, like a ton of extra stuff. Death Zone, you know, you've got all of Sam's favorite weather charts and things like that. But like, you don't need it. You can play a pickup game of Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl 7s is the best way to do this. You choose 4 positionals and you add up to 600 with the rest, right? And then you just play a game. Or you go deeper and have a tournament with constructed rules, or you have a full league with the RPG element of it. But it's still, I don't know whether it's just because of how it's structured. It's like bit by bit by bit, you have a league game, and then another week you have another league game, and 2 things have changed. One of your guys is hurt, one of your guys is better. Like, it's a small variable. Like, it's bit by bit. I feel like AOS and stuff like that these days is like jumping straight into playing a league game in Blood Bowl with a 2 million team. Like, and you're like, right, he does what now?
Plus more.
How does that? Yeah, and giants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But not enough giants.
I think the big thing is Blood Bowl, every skill that any player can take is in the rulebook.
Yeah.
So if you have the rulebook, you understand what everyone's players can do. Whereas in Age of Sigmar, everyone's well, not just Age of Sigmar, everyone has like army specific rules, and then a unit has a special thing it can do under certain circumstances, but not under a full moon, and only when, you know,
it's
even the third Sunday of
but it's even worse than that. It's because there's so many of them.
Are you wearing a blue t-shirt?
Similar. Yeah. And it's like, my shields do this, but your shields sometimes do this, and your shields do this instead. And it's like, oh, they're just shields. Do you know what shields used to do? +1 armor save. That was it. Yeah, +1 armor save. And if you had a hand weapon as well, you got +2 to your armor save. But no one ever did that because everyone took spears. And it was fine.
They actually upgraded it. Hand weapon and shield eventually used to give you a 6+ ward save.
What?
Parry it was called. Yeah, 8th edition, hand weapon and shield. As long so if you were charged in the front and you had a hand weapon and shield, you got a 6+ parry save against melee attacks. On top of your armor save.
Was that instead of the duplicate +1 armor?
Yeah, so you get +1 armor for the shield,
Yeah.
and then you also get 6+ parry.
Okay. Well, in the before times, you used to get +2 to your armor save with a hand weapon and shield. That's why swordsmen were so good in Empire armies. It's because they were WS4 and they had a 4+ armor save with light armor, and you were like, yeah, I'm a high elf. Those good times. Good times. It took 3 hours to play the game and about £300-400 to build an army, but the stress was really low unless you miscast and blew up your wizard. Yeah. That was the best. That was the absolute best.
Then it was good laugh.
Maybe that's what they should bring into Blood Bowl next. Wizards with power dice. Power dice.
Keep dreaming, Ben.
It's my favourite. It's my favourite mechanic. My favourite mechanic. I love the power dice mechanic. Groovy. So you guys got some gaming in. We've had a couple of Blood Bowl games as well, Ben, which has been really good fun. And you can go and watch them now because the Bonehead Championship is game 9 is coming out this weekend. So halfway there now, which is cool. Yeah. And all the teams are... It's been fun. It's been really fun to chop and change and see how they're developing. Some teams have been more lucky than others. Skaven had a very bad game, as Skaven tend to do. I'm really glad that was caught on camera. No, wicked. Cool. Any more on the hobby buying, building? Well, are you guys picking up corn? Are you not going to pick up corn? I have to pick up corn. I'm sure I will. You know, got to pick up corn. Sam, Frenzy Garda. Got to pick up corn. Absolutely.
I'll pick up corn, but I'll probably get a different... I'll get a proxy for the big guy.
Yeah.
I really like your Pit Lord.
Oh, that Pit Lord is really good. That's Grebo, isn't it, Ben?
Oh, yeah, the Grebo. Yeah.
Maybe wait till they redo it in Greeblood, though. Because when they do the Greeblood...
100% do. Yes. Otherwise, you'll be... Yeah. I think I've gone through about 3 bottles of super glue in repairing those wings. So
you didn't pin them?
I have now. Yeah, it just took 3 bottles.
Oh, Sam, you got the proper bloodthirst, haven't you, Sam? So you are familiar with the need to. You sold it.
I sold it on. Yeah, after Tombstone, I retired them, and I sold them on to Rich.
Oh wow! Okay.
But yeah, no, that one was resin actually. That was the original sculpt of that Bloodthirster was metal, but I got I think it was Failcast, to be honest.
Failcast.
Yeah, all the old resin stuff, all metal stuff is, yeah.
Games Workshop have been through some stuff, haven't they?
They put us through some stuff as well.
Well, yeah, Failcast, killing off Warhammer, and then Warhammer Minus has been interesting too.
First time I saw you type, I assumed it was a typo, and I was like, actually, that's slight. And then you did it again.
No, that's the thing. I cannot give it a plus, I'm afraid. The painting tutorials have been good, but when you have to advertise your service as having over 120 minutes of content, then then you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Then you're trying a little too hard. It's like, oh no. Anyway, talking about painting, we should bounce into our main topic, which is about how to desperately paint up a tournament team in no time at all. And we're back. So Ben and I were chatting yesterday. We were like, hey, we've got the podcast coming out. Corn team isn't just here yet. What should we talk about instead? And Ben, you had a great suggestion. What was it?
Yeah, so I think at the time I was rapidly painting up this team for tournament, and I thought maybe we can talk about rapidly painting up a team for a tournament. We've got one coming up. It's actually, I said 2 weeks before, it's just 1 week of recording.
It's 9 days. That's 9 more days than I normally spend.
Yeah, it's true. It's close. Yeah, it's close enough. But yeah, as we got on rapidly approaching, I thought, yeah, we'll give it a shout. We've all painted up teams pretty quickly in the past. Nothing like a deadline to get your ass in gear. So yeah, I thought we could offer up some advice.
Absolutely. So when was the last time you guys, we'll ignore Ben right now painting his team. When was the last time you went through the rigmarole of going, oh, I need to get this team ready, stat?
like tonight. It's happening to me right now. Like, they're not finished.
Like fantastic. So when was the last time I had to do it? Ben, what was the last tournament we played in, or
We did Isle of Wight Sand Bowl.
Yes. Do you remember what team I took? Oh my god, what is
Oh,
going
that's
on?
Snotlings.
It was. The Snotling team was
Yeah.
already painted, actually. All I had to do was paint up Hackflem, and I still left that to the last flipping minute. All right, I guess the last time I desperately painted something was probably for the YouTube, and that was 6 teams. And yeah, before that it was the 6 teams for 7 Super Series. I am not good at that. And yeah, it can be done. You have to. I think I'm going to open up with the obvious here. It's okay to not do an amazing job, because
100%.
colors, stuff picked out, and I cannot stress this enough, basing. And it doesn't have to be complicated, but if your team looks finished, that's all you need. Like, I so many times I've just been like, you know what, let's get the colors on. This is going to be my top tip, which will surprise absolutely none of you, but cover it in Agrax, and then put some static grass on, and you're good to go. That's finished enough for me, I guess. Is probably where I would start if you're like, oh, I got a tournament and I got to paint the team, and I've got probably about 2 evenings to do it in. Like, you just be okay with the fact that actually it's going to be real basic standard. And you know what? Nobody at the tournament is going to care at all. Like, no one's going to care. And a great thing is with most tournaments is if you don't paint your team, if you just have it primed, again, nobody's really going to care. That's the beautiful thing about Blood Bowl, is it is a board miniature hybrid game. Like, if you play Warhammer or something, you've got some wicked terrain and one person's playing with a grey mess and one person's playing it can affect the cinema of the moment. But in Blood Bowl, you're playing on a cardboard pitch, and you got tokens and stuff on it. It's a board game. It's okay. So if you can't get it done, don't worry about it, and just be aware that your standards will not be as good as Sam's Genie, or in fact, quartered color schemes, Sam. That would probably be my starting point. You guys got any starting messages, I guess, to this process?
You definitely summed up what I was going to start with as well. Just it doesn't have to be perfect, and like a lot of, I guess what we'll talk about is often like cutting corners, because that's kind of what you want to do if you're saving time. Like, you can spend hours and hours and hours making sure shading is right. I think even when I did the live stream for the nobility team for 24 hours, I didn't complete it because I spent far too long just trying to like get one part of it looking right. And it just killed so much time. And if I just stuck with the original look, it would have ended up like 95% of what it ended up looking like. And I would have shaved off like 8 10 hours. And but you live and learn. And like, just like Ben said, it doesn't have to look perfect. You'd be surprised how much it comes together, even just adding a nice base. Sam, what do you think?
Pretty much echoing your guys' thoughts. So I think as you get closer and closer to the deadline, your standards will kind of slip a little. But if you're just looking to get it finished, that's fine. Mine this happened to me with the Dwarves as well. Like the one that I did first, like the proto model, was kind of took me hours and hours, and he's great looking. But then as I've gone, they've got progressively, I don't want to say sloppier, but like I said, I've cut corners, used shortcuts, contrasts. Some people don't like them, but they will be a massive time saver if you need to just get that spot color on the armor. If you just need to get that armor color on, bang! Like, there's a contrast color for it. Just whack it all on, and that does your base and your shade, and you saved hours.
So
yeah, for sure.
Should we talk about tips then? So Sam's already opened the gates by using contrast. I've to this day I think I've only used like 2 different contrasts. Are you a contrast? No, you are technical. That is 1 contrast paint then. And it's been fine. Like, I've subscribed to the Duncan 2 thin coats, but I'm lazy, so I just do 1 thin coat and then shade it using Agrax. But I think I'm going to chuck out a top tip there that this works for everything I paint, basically, that I don't intend to just do an absolutely outstanding paint job on, which I have yet to achieve, which is, if you want to cut a corner, use a coloured primer. And there's 2 angles to this for me, especially with Blood Bowl. There's the brown primer from Army Painter, or a colour that you are going to paint your team in. Okay, so I've used the green and the brown from Army Painter. Brown Army Painter is excellent, because if you don't want to pick out a colour, it just looks like dirt. Like, you can go and you can do all the other stuff, and anything you don't want to get back to, or there's a crevice or something like that, you've got brown there. And once you've Agraxed it, it will kind of blend in, and you kind of end up with this muddy thing. Works really, really, really well. But also, like, your colour scheme for your team. Like, if you're going to have a green team, like, go for it. Use green primer. Like, that's absolutely fine. It will get most of your colour down. It will tie it in. And then there are going to be some times where you're painting a Blood Bowl team and you're like, is that armour? Is that undershirt? Like, is that shorts? Is that his arse? I don't know. But it doesn't matter. You know what? It's now green. Like, it's already green. Like, move on. Like, move on. So my top tip for painting at all is, honestly, Army Painter under your fancy coloured. It's the same price, right? It's like £8. Everything is £8. So actually, this is just massively helpful. I use brown for everything, but actually, if I've got a team I want to paint green, which has got to be probably 50% of my teams, I'll just use the green version, and it's perfect, and you can just build up from there.
I think I might piggyback off of that and say, like, to go. Another good tip that I've found is, the people have found. I'm not going to pretend it's gospel that I discovered, but like, just use big things. Like, I think a lot of people can waste time, like, with like a small brush, just like picking out details and things. It's just like, if you just get a fat old brush. Hang on, I've probably got. I've got one like here. So, like, this is like a brush I would use. This is not going to help anyone listening on audio, but this is like a fat, really fat, cheap brush.
Yeah.
I think I bought it in a huge bulk. And if I have, like, I'll find the color on the model that's going to be the dominant color that's going to take the longest to paint. Be that, like, it could be a flesh tone if they're like shirtless or something, or it could be like their clothes. Blood Bowl teams are really good because they're usually wearing like a color, like the whole lot. Get a big brush, get the paint, and just slap it on. Like, don't care about picking out details. Just get colors on and work in order of surface area with bigger brushes. And it's amazing how much time it saves just having a big brush. Don't worry about 2 thin coats if you're painting quick. Like, 2 thin coats going to get you a more even layer for sure. But you'd be surprised how nice one fat coat can look. As long as you just don't let it pool up too much in areas.
Yeah.
Just get paint on a palette, water it down so it's thin enough, and then just cover it. Try and avoid 2 if you can, to be honest.
Yeah.
You can always come back later and pick out and highlight and, like, go over another layer if you have.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. I don't know if you guys, you can see on camera, this is probably not going to pull out very well on the green screen, but I've got a random Punga Rotter, and I painted it brown, and then I painted on its yellow stuff, and then I painted on its flesh stuff. And quite honestly, once I've Agraxed that, you can then pick out anything fancy you want. That dude's done. Like Ben says, just big areas, big colours, go. Right, and it's all right. And I think I'm going to jump in here and just say that I painted up the Sevens teams, and now I've painted up these teams, and they're not great. But I know that if I wanted to make them better, they're already painted now. So if I want to go back and add a couple of extra layers of paint, like, it's going to be fine. Like, if I want to do some bits and make them look better, I can. So don't be like, oh, I've got this chaos team and I want to make them look really good. Like, yeah, that's fine. You can still go back, like, get it painted for the tournament, and then you can still go back and then do all the work. You've already got something to work on at that point. So top tips so far. We've got use contrasts. That's cool. You've got cheat massively with Ben's patented undercolor. Just one spray it. I'm running a brown team today. And like Ben says, big colors, big brush, big time save.
Yeah. working order of surface area.
Yeah, they used to do that
Um,
kind of painting technique of what was it? Was it painting out? Like painting from the
Yeah.
inside out, but that is the reverse of what Ben is saying here. Kind of, you want to paint
sometimes.
paint
Yeah.
paint big to little, as opposed to the other way around, where the areas. Yeah. No, I like that. Sam, any top tips?
My tip actually runs sort of counterpoint to yours because I spray everything white. Like, I just pulled out some colours here. If I undercoat something white, I've got Black Templar, Guilliman Flesh, and Snakebite Leather. Those three contrast colours will cover 50% of the Blood Bowl model.
All right,
And all you need left.
Yeah, if you're painting contrast, definitely.
Yeah.
Use the appropriate undercut. I don't know how well contrast would work over brown.
I don't think it would, but yeah. So if your last minute team's not even started, then spray them white and slap loads of contrast on them, and you cannot go wrong.
Oh, just dropped my guy. That's fine. At least I'm not sorting out the painting thing. Now, can we talk bases real quick? So
Yeah.
I base mine as I build them. Like, I'll build the guys, and then, well, because of how I operate, I will build a team, undercoat it, and then move on forever, and then go, oh, I need that team, where is it? And then it's ready to go. So when building your team, decide how you want to do the bases. If you want to do it real quick, you can buy some bases. I think we've all been there where we've got either 3D printed bases, resin bases. The Games Workshop Shattered Earth ones actually paint up really cool as like a dungeon kind of terrain. You don't have to do your bases. I am a big fan of like PVA and sand, but that's probably because I'm now very old school.
I'm 100% agree. Like I PVA and sand everything. It's so much faster. It's so much faster than faffing around with basing material and trying to avoid feet, especially if they're already on it.
Yeah.
Just dunk it in PVA. Oh, not dunk a model in PVA. Do not do that. Just
and finish.
Put your PVA on. Yeah, I found something I've done recently. Actually, is I've put my PVA in a teeny little dropper bottle. Like it's one that looks like a any paint dropper
bottles
bottle.
There.
I do, but
I bet
it means
you took
can
it out
get
of a
like
giant dropper bottle.
Proper.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's into something small that you can get inside the feet with, and then it saves you even more time.
Nah, I use like very cheap, very bad like brushes.
Yeah, bad brush
for PVA, and then just throw them in a river when I'm finished with it. No, you reuse them as much as you can. Yeah, no, you reuse them as much as you can, and then you give up, and it turns into a PVA formed cocktail stick, and you carry on using it. In fact,
I use my
cocktail stick is good. Like,
yes,
yeah.
I use my patented Citadel tool.
Oh, you've got the spreader, have you?
Bougie.
Right. The flat end and the thin end.
That is 100% the cheekiest thing I think Games Workshop have ever made.
They swear by it. It's really, really good.
And do you know what? I think the painting handle is also the other most like obvious. Are you seriously selling me this? That it turns out to be quite useful. You know how you hold that model with your hand? What if you held something else that held that model?
That was my attitude to begin with, and I tried it, and I was like, "Wow, this is the future." But I still cannot buy a spray stick. I won't buy one. Like, I don't understand the idea behind it.
I use shelves as a spray stick or bits of wood.
I use the back of an empty cereal box and just pop the models on that and go out and spray them. It's going to go in the bin anyway.
I've got a cardboard pizza base from Hot and Spicy from 2019.
Nice.
There you go.
That is really good.
See how many different colours are on it.
Sainsbury's. Yeah, there we go.
It used to be an old Celebrations tin lid because you flip it upside down, it's got the rim so stuff doesn't fall off.
Genius.
That is good. That is good. Yeah, I've just switched that off for a sec, chaps, as we're not talking about anything. Craig has used a PC before. I know that because I now have that PC, and you can see on the top where he's got rings. It's quite hilarious. It was black. He's undercoated something black on it, and you can see 25mm bases, like 10 of them, on top of on top of the tower unit. I'm like, oh, what an absolute animal! But fair enough. So yes, build the team all in one go. Decide what you're going to do basing wise. If you build them one night and then put your PVA and stuff on the bases, you can leave them, and then the next time you prime them all done. I am a big fan of prime and base like together, so that it's done.
Yeah.
It's not the fanciest way of doing it, but it will rush you to completeness even quicker, because it all blends in. Like, it all blends in. This is why I'm so pro brown. Like, is because the ground is brown. Shadows near the ground, they're also brown now. Areas you can't reach with your brush, they're also brown. So it's very, very, very useful, and you can kind of go for it. Now, actually painting the bases, it depends on how you roll. I mean, if you've got fancy spreader tools like Sam, you've probably got the Games Workshop textured free range paints as well.
Yes, Grelin.
Yeah, and that
I used. Yeah.
do you know what, that does the same thing? You can get Vallejo texture paste as well. I've got a ton of it left over from the Flames of War Team Yankee days, and it's really good stuff. Like, that's fine. Just get some texture down there, and then again, like, when you're looking at layers for this, the actual base itself, you just want a solid color, and then either dry brush over it, or again, I'm going to say it, use Agrax, or a contrast paint, which is I've got Dark Oath Flesh that I've tended to use as a contrast paint for browning stuff, like for just chucking over sand and things like that. Paint the edge black. Black is the correct choice here.
Yeah, no disagreements here.
Unless in Blood Bowl you want to color code your positionals, so like use red for blitzers and blue. I think that's it's not a bad way to do things at all either. And then any kind of static flock, just to break up that ground area. It doesn't need to be over the whole base, just a few dabs of PVA, chuck it in there, it breaks up the base. You can also use it to hide anything you've missed when it comes to the base, and you're done. Like, it's two stages. The basing is my favorite bit. That will take a model from barely painted to finished, and you can top it up later. And this is why I love small scale models as well, because whether you're painting 15mm, 3mm, whatever, cool base, it just gives it a cool effect and it ties it together.
100%. Yeah.
So
a very easy way to make a model complete.
Yeah, and you can come back to it. And when it comes to Blood Bowl, if you don't have numbers or transfers or anything like that, just grab a Sharpie and write underneath it. Sharpie, white paint, Tipp-Ex, whatever you've got, just number your players underneath the base, and you can come back and tidy up later. I think that's probably something else to mention, is because with all of these techniques, you can come back and undo them.
Yeah.
If you are like, I really wish I'd done a better job with that, now I've ruined the model. None of these tips, you've ruined the model. Like, if you put your contrast on too heavy, you just base coat that little bit again and highlight it to your desire. Like, if you've Agraxed the heck out of something, these paints aren't that thick. Like, this is not Humbrol paint, okay? You are not taking an Airfix model and painting it in what is essentially rubber. Like, that's not... Come on. Do you remember the little tins that you had to use a spoon to open, and then it had just solidified on the inside?
I was very young when I used those.
Yeah, man. Oh, the smell of Airfix glue in the morning and the evening and the afternoon. Well, you don't remember the afternoon because of the smell of the Airfix glue. It's it's a simpler time. I remember building a rhino in my room with the window closed and the door closed, and Ian got a headache and started moaning and had to go and sit outside. It was hilarious.
Incredible.
I know. Stupid boy. Cool. So, what other tips and things like this are helpful, Ben?
I have noticed another pretty handy one. So it kind of, from what I was saying about, like, you don't spend too long like just going through laboriously highlighting something. A really good way to get a highlight is, and it's a little bit more like stylized perhaps, but really bold highlights are very quick to do and very effective. So if you don't want to go through and kind of like, you know, layer up a nice gradient, or like you don't want to edge highlight everything, just get like a really bright color. Like if you're using like a blue, get like a really bright blue close to white. Like if you're using red, maybe a yellow, something like bright and stark, and then just slap that on an edge, and you or like a corner and things like that. It's you start doing it and you think, wow, this looks wrong. But as you do it to like the whole model, you end up with a kind of a quite a stylized like look,
Some
but it's a
serious
cool
pop.
finish and it's not that much effort.
I have
Think
never.
how
I
like
am always too scared to do that when it comes to my painting.
Yeah.
it will you'll start painting through it and you'll probably think this doesn't look too finished, but stick with it and just get it to a point where the model is like done, and that's a pretty damn fast and effective way of painting. It can work pretty well. Like think how like comic books look. That's just all like two colors that highlight each other.
Hey,
it's kind of like that sort of style.
Sam, maybe you should try it on the red areas of that marine.
That's gonna be orange.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do the In Vogue thing where they edge highlight every single angle.
Oh man, it
Yeah.
looks awful. I've
Yeah.
I've been enjoying the painting videos, but there's a reason they only show you completing one leg.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Takes a long time.
Yeah, no, no. This is not the video for that. So, yeah, on the way of highlighting, Ben, that's a really great shout. I am partial to a cheeky dry brush, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
my painting thing is undercoat a model brown or green. Pick out the bold areas, like the block areas, pick your flesh out, pick your uniform out, pick your secondary uniform color, pick out anything in brown or black that you want to be. Now, I wouldn't always, if you're doing this quick, I wouldn't always worry too much about belt loops and about belts, to be honest with you. Like, pick out the metal, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no reason they can't have a red belt with a red shirt. Like, it's not a problem. So pick out uniform colors, pick out the flesh, pick out anything that you want to be a different color. And I personally am an Agrax guy, so you chuck on that shade. If you're using contrast already, you've already got that shading thing. Then what I'll do is, if I want to make a model pop, or it's a bit dull, or I've gone too heavy on the Agrax, because I like to use this brush, which is a large dry brush for my Agrax in, which in itself is probably a terrible technique. I'll just get the base color, and I say dry brush, it's more of a wet brush. Like, just kind of get a bit of paint on the brush, bit of a tissue, wop it off, and then just downward strokes on the areas of the, like, so if I've painted it red and then I've agraxed it, I've let it dry, I'll get base red on my brush again, and then I will just pop a bit of the paint off and then just down brush on it, or I'll use the same color for the whole model before agrax if I'm not going to have time to go and do the different colors. So this is a really, really cheaty, lazy way, and is one of those ones that is harder to undo. Is it Karak stone? What's the skull color these days? What's bleach bone now called? It's been through a couple of iterations. I can't see it.
I have no idea. I'm not the one to ask here.
Whatever the heck bone is, that's something.
Yeah, Screaming Skull, did you?
I think that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Sam. Perfect. Screaming Skull.
Thanks.
That one, or the creepy greenish kind of flesh tone, if you're kind of like a Nurgly or undead thing. Dry brush that on your model. Just a little bit light. What it does is it just naturally picks out the standard colors, and then when you agrax, that goes into the shade. You've got a bit of an overall thing that kind of ties the model in together. It's a really lazy boy way to do it. I'll do it when I also get the base as well, so it kind of just ties it in. It is a bit why all of my paint schemes look very matte, and they do kind of blend in together, but it's because I spent years and years and years painting tanks, and let me tell you, brown, green, and some kind of dusty dry brush is like, that's your jam, right? Doesn't matter what scale tank you're painting, brown, green, and a dusty dry brush, and you are there. So this also works for Blood Bowl, to get it done really quickly. Like, that is the lazy boy method for me. Is a color undercoat, pick out your areas, do a dry brush to highlight, and then Agrax, or if you've got more time, do an Agrax, then highlight the individual colours if you want more pop. And dry brush your base, chuck on some sand, paint black around the edge, and your model is finished. And you can get a team done in about 4 hours. Easy. I did it with the Tzeentch team when I took them to... Where did we take them? That must have been Mana Bowl, one of the Mana Bowl Stunty Cups. I had a Tzeentch Demon team that I used as Lizardmen. Pink Horrors for the Crocs, for the Sauruses, and the blue Horrors for Skinks. This was back in the before times. And just, yeah, got them done in an evening. Base painted, dry brush, wash, base. 4 hours, basically. I started at 7, I got done just about 11 o'clock.
That is
Nice.
impressive. That's really impressive. I thought I was being quick with these dwarfs, but that's mad.
No, I think the quality yours would be much better, but like I just wanted the team painted, like, because it doesn't, it doesn't matter. And I guess something we cannot stress enough is, don't paint them if you don't want to paint them, if you want it. But I do recommend like getting an event like this, and I think we should probably say this, although this is kind of an assumed point, but if you want to take a team to a tournament you're going to months in advance, paint your team months in advance.
Yeah, do as we say, not as we do. That's the thing here. We don't do that.
Oh,
it's I need it to be
terrible.
within 2 weeks to actually do it. So
yeah. I mean, I painted an entire giant the evening before recording the YouTube, because I was like, oops, I really need to get round to doing that. But I love my green giant. I think he's brilliant. Good boy, Trigidus. It's a great model. Probably my favourite 3D printed one. So that's my full method. Do you guys do you want to talk through your full method?
I don't have much to add, to be fair. My method, this is less advice because it requires extra things, but the single fastest thing you can do to speed up painting is get an airbrush. But I know that's just like buy stuff, which isn't always the best advice.
Is that right,
that being
though,
said,
for 12 models?
For 12 models, no. Don't it's not worth it. But if you paint regularly and you want to paint regularly fast, yeah, it's worth it for sure.
Okay.
I've saved way more in time than it ever cost. But I do paint quite often, so it's one of these things. If you do paint often, I would say hands down the best thing you can get. If speed is of your interest, like you can slap on black, grey. Sorry, Ben. Could be brown. Then like a white zenithal from above highlight, and then a color like in ink. So the ones I'm doing at the moment are blue ink over a zenithal, and you end up with a gradient. And it took me 20 minutes to get to an entire team with the gradient highlight all over. So it's like you couldn't do that with a brush.
That is next level.
But yeah, so it's like it's just that's the one thing. But I don't always like saying people should do that because they are expensive. And yeah, I don't really like suggesting spending money as a tip. So, but
I think it's a fair thing to suggest. Like at the end of the day, when I was thinking about this earlier on, because I don't have an airbrush, but I did think like, oh man, if I was pressed for time, I would. I think one of those would really save me some time.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
They are just big time savers, really. That's all. Like you can achieve what an airbrush does with enough brush work or like enough brush control. But
having said that, I know. So when I'm scrolling and stuff and I see paint jobs, normally I can tell that they've used an airbrush, and I don't know what it is. There's something about the finish. Maybe it's the blend or something. I noticed it on Tripp's Black Orcs actually.
They look dusty.
There's something about maybe that's what it is.
They get speckled. You can see speckles, and like the type of like
the type of blend
transition.
There's
it's
something
sort of like too smooth.
Yeah, it's so smooth, and I'm like, that's not a brush. That cannot be
airbrush.
Yeah.
But I mean, so when I first got back into the hobby, airbrushes were, I guess they became mainstream when I was gone. I kind of looked at him like cheating,
Yeah,
That's
Ben.
cheating.
Yeah.
But it's not, is it? It's an entirely different way of doing it.
I don't
And
think there's anything you with painting. There's nothing really you can do that is cheating. I feel like
No.
there's time savers and there's
Time savers
yeah,
and
that's
low
pretty much it.
standards.
but I think
Yes, that's pretty much what we're saying. That's the advice we're giving.
by cheating, I meant you achieve better standards with less effort. But I
Yeah,
don't
100%.
I don't think that's true, because airbrushing, there's skill to it, isn't there? There's technique. I couldn't pick one up and do it because I've never used one.
Yeah, there is skill to it, and they do take getting used to. But you are also right with they are less effort.
Oh,
Like
really?
the reason I do it is because it's less effort. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Like it's a time saver. So it's like if I were to brush like this kind of gradient, I would be way more effort. So they are 100% less effort. But you are also right. Yeah, they are not. They are their own beast, and you can achieve really good results with skill with them as well. So.
I think
Any
go on.
any other tips from you, Sam, about your process?
Not really. I mean, if I'm in a rush, I use contrast, and that's about it.
I really like that. So we've got Sam saying contrast works really well. We've got Ben, who's potentially there from an airbrush angle as well. And we've got me, who's old school but lazy in probably the worst way, like the worst techniques. But that's 3 different ways to do it, and
Yeah.
there's just so much potential. But when a team is painted, even if it's painted poorly and lazy, that's the point at which it gets its identity. And you can always go back, and if you're chilling out, your partner's watching garbage TV and you just want to paint some stuff but you don't know what to paint, well, actually, get your team and redo the yellow. Do the yellow edge highlighting as you're chilling out, and over time you'll be able to level up that team and it will just start to look something really special. Or maybe you'll paint a team and then you'll be like, actually, I can do this better, and you'll pick up another box of it and go back and do it. Because I think we've had a couple of guys in our league who've done this. Ian is the cracking one. He painted his human team and then was like, I can do a better job, because Ian's that kind of guy and can do a better job. So he picked up another human team because he was like, actually, I've leveled up now. I want to go and do this. I want to take my time with this because I painted this one up. But actually, I'm a huge proponent of get the base colors down, get the agrax to tie it in, get the basing done, and then you can go back later and you can build up those highlights. You can do more stuff, but that's all you have to do. And I think that takes it to a medium level. Like, you can just undercoat, block paint the colors and leave it as it is, but an agrax to tie in, a bit of a dry brush to tie in, using contrast to have the shade, using blue ink over a pink zenithal. Now that was for yellow, wasn't it, Ben?
Yeah, yellow over pink is really good.
Absolutely outrageous. Like like puddle duck yellow was insane.
Oh yes, that was the raincoat.
The raincoat
Yeah,
Skaven, raincoat rats hashtag.
Yeah.
Like there's a ton of stuff you can do, but when it comes to painting for a tournament, keep it simple and just base it. No one else sees anything. That's my top tip. The base is all that matters, and you can go back and top up everything else later, but appropriately, like budget the right amount of time, etc., etc., etc. But you very well may not. Or you could do the other wise thing, which is just have one team for your tournaments. And I think Rich Saxby's a big fan for this one, isn't he? He's like, I've got my tournament team, it's painted. When I want to go to a tournament, I look at the teams I've got painted and I pick one of those. Whereas I'm very much like a cool excuse to build a new team. Like, what can we take to this one? What will the viewers choose? That was it. That's why we took Snotlings. That's why I took Snotlings, is because the YouTube viewers voted. Like 600 people were like, nah, take Snotlings. And you know what? I did all right. And it was good. And he saw that it was good. Probably mostly because I hacked them. Actually, no, because of accurate bombers. That was where it was at. And you know what? Talking of bombers, let's take a quick break and come back with Goblin Shenanigans. And we are back. And sadly, goblins aren't. So last podcast before, we looked at the meta. We looked at how constructed Blood Bowl is going, what teams are doing well. And goblins, bless them, right at the bottom in 30 to 35% win rate when it comes to competitive. The closest one was Khorne, Demons of Khorne, but it's at about 43%. And then everybody else was kind of 45 to 55. Like, the grouping was really good with the exception of Underworld and Goblins, who are the flip-flop side. So we've been threatening to grab Sam and talk about this for a little while because Goblins got massively changed in this edition, I think. Like, how they used to run versus how they run now, I think, is quite different. But Sam has proven that you can still win with Goblins. Now, Sam, can you remember the last tournament? It was quite a long time ago now.
Yeah, I remember it vividly. The highs and the lows.
So it was a 3-round tournament. How did your 3 games go?
I think it was loss, win, loss actually.
Okay.
So I mean, I won the Stunty Cup, but it wasn't much of an achievement. Having said that, 2 of the teams I faced were kind of the same thing.
Oh yeah, you got double underworlded, didn't you?
I got double hack flemmed.
Yeah.
Which I'm not salty about at all.
Yeah. Hang on for the next segment. Yeah. So now you smashed face in one of the rounds, though, didn't you? Who was that?
That middle was Milton's Orcs, which was really surprising.
That's right. You wrecked them.
And yeah, I mean, I was basically playing to table him, and very nearly did.
Wow.
And you know what? It's just because I decided that my secret weapons they're not there they're not there for a long time. They're there for a good time. All right. So stuff like basically every activation on the Fanatic, he was going for it twice, like every single turn, making sure I get every single block out of him. And to Milton's credit, there wasn't he played as well as he could, but I mean, he did get kind of diced in that game. In the first round, I think I killed 2 of his players. One of them was the star player that he bought with the chainsaw. And it just sort of went downhill from there. Like, my chainsaw, my bomber, and my Fanatic just wrecked. It was crazy.
So you had a vanilla list, didn't you? You weren't running a star?
Well, what stars? No, I didn't run any stars. Like you said, vanilla list, 2 trolls, all of these secret dudes apart from the hooligan. And yeah, just loaded up on goblins. And it was all right.
It was
even with even with the 2 Hackflem games, I feel like they were quite close, but I ended up receiving in the first drive on both games, and then was forced to score early and defend for like 14 turns, and it doesn't always work.
Here we are, 8 peak piranhas, 1100, 2 trolls, both with grab.
Yep.
A Doom Diver with catch, Pogo with sure hands, Fanatic with brawler. That's interesting, and a bomber with pass. 3 rerolls, 1 AC, 1 cheerleader, 2 goblin bribes. There you go. So 14 players all in as well.
Yeah. So the brawler on the Fanatic was, I mean, he's going to be getting 2 or 3 die blocks. And he gets strength on a single, or what's it called these days?
Primary, yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer. It's like I get a primary, stick it on him, and he's even more. I want to say survivable, but he's a lot more choppy.
Now I'm a big
Fanatic
fan of brawler.
Sorry, Karen.
I'm a big fan of brawler.
Well, I mean, it was going to be block, but I didn't have enough secondaries to go that far. So brawler was kind of the next best thing.
Yeah, sure hands on the pogo. I do like that move. Okay.
The plan there is Pogo picks the ball up with sure hands, hands it off to the Doom Diver who's got catch, and then pray that the troll can throw the Doom Diver.
So, Ben, you started Blood Bowl with goblins. And Sam, did you ever run goblins in the old edition, or you only run them in the new one?
Only on BB2, which also didn't include the Doom Diver.
That is true, yeah. The Doom Diver used to be an absolute piece. So, biggest changes for goblins in this edition. What do you think? What do you think is the biggest thing that's hurt them? Is it that star player situation? We've lost Ben's audio.
No, that was my bad. Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't really remember playing many games with goblins without the extra fanatic, at least, or the chainsaw. Yeah, I like it's having the extra like cheap stars was so crucial to them. I think maybe just the way the I don't know, because I'm not really sure, to be honest. Like I never found them to be that restrictive. Like they weren't a good team, but they could hold their own. So now they just seems so much harder to do that.
It seems really, really strange, and I don't know if it is because goblins have statistically got worse in this edition. Like they've lost like 5 win percentage points, but the thing is, the other stunty teams have also bounced up. So I mean, ogres are sitting at a 50% win rate, right? They're right up there. Halflings are 49%. Snotlings, I think, with something like 47, 48%. And goblins are just tanking at the bottom. They're at 35. And the difference in this edition to the last edition is massively the fact you've lost it. I mean, how much were their star players? Like 80k for a ball and chain guy? Like,
yeah.
That's just an awesome pickup. Like, you normally have the TV to be able to take him. And from a tournament point of view, he was simply better as well because he had Mighty Blow. So it was that you had essentially a better positional to choose, and you could take Nobbler Blackwart, who already had dodge on your chainsaw, so he was immediately more survivable. So like you've got these vanilla pieces, but if you could take one chainsaw, it would have been Nobbler in a tournament sort of situation, and even in a league situation. And you know, Fungus the Loon having that Mighty Blow +1, just being able to take one of those guys. I mean, you can take a bribe, or you could take a bribe and for 30k have it also be a dude, which is essentially what each of those star players was. The bomber was, fine, and it is a shame, but I think goblins lost their edge in that they were always the strongest of stunties. Now goblins they can bash, they can seriously bash. You've got 2 trolls, you've got a chainsaw, you've got a loony. Sam's proven this. You can bash orcs in a tournament setting almost off the pitch. Like you can wipe out. I think goblins are just really high on the combo factor, and swoop getting nerfed a little bit hasn't helped them with their combo element. Because now it's only D3 squares as opposed to 3 in the direction that you want. That landing isn't as consistent as it used to be, which I actually think is good, because I think swoop in the old edition was a bit too much. It was just kind of...
It was quite powerful.
Yeah, it was quite powerful, but there you go. You've immediately lost something that they used to be good at. So they've lost swoop. They've lost a selection of star players that were cheap enough for you to be able to take, because they were cheaper than your players, right? Basically, they were the same price as the players. I just, where do we go from here? Like, how can you win with goblins? Why aren't we seeing them still win? I've played them at stunty events, and they're tough. Goblins are hench when you're playing in a stunty environment.
I don't know what it is that's caused. So they shouldn't be doing as well as standard teams, I don't think. But that should be true of halflings and ogres, right? We expect stunty teams, what's now called tier 3 teams, we expect them to sit around 45. Yeah?
Kind of 40 to 45 is probably where you want those tier 3 teams to be.
Yeah. But it seems like they've made really good ground with bringing what were the old joke teams like halflings kind of almost up to the level of of your standard teams humans. Halflings what, 49, 50%?
Yeah, they're 49.
That I wouldn't have dreamt of that in the old edition.
No, absolutely not.
So it's just a case of goblins need to catch up. I don't know what's. I mean, I want to say that losing Ripper is one of the biggest hurts to them.
Yeah, that consistency piece. You just get a much better troll. He is, Ripper, Fungus the Loon, just the being able to combo him. Ben, I think your first Blood Bowl tournament, you ran a triple troll build, didn't you, with Ripper?
Yeah, and honestly, like the only touchdowns I think I scored were Ripper and Doomdiver, neither of which are kind of either
Which
exist
are
or what they were.
Kind of, gone.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know what you guys think about this. I have a theory when it comes to goblins. It's not a Games Workshop theory. I think they've made a mistake. This is the most expensive team to buy into. Well, with the exception of Chaos Renegades. But because you've got to buy the add-on packs and the multiple big guys and everything. It's not cheap to get into goblins. But I think that's the key, is that the other three stunty teams are cheap. Halflings 30k a piece. Snotlings and Noblars are 15k now, right? Goblins are 40k. Goblins are priced at the same as an actual player. Okay, hobgoblins, thralls, they're 40k. Like these are, so the lineman of a goblin team and the lineman of the Chaos Dwarf team, which again is in the top 5 of actual just the top 5 teams, are the same price. And that means you don't get enough money to buy the real star players. Whereas ogres, you can afford a decent ogre team and just free roll yourself Griff. Like maybe you have to give up an ogre, but you can still roll Griff and 3 or 4 ogres. Right? Snotlings, I took everything in my Snotling build and had Hackflem. Like I gave up nothing to take Hackflem. Because you probably shouldn't take 2 pump wagons. And likewise, when it comes to halflings, quite frankly, the halflings just run out of stuff to buy. Because as far as, the catchers are cool, but they're pricey. The hefties are interesting, but they're not great. You can only take 2 trees. So you've got 2 trees, and then you are left with a team that's cost you 600k. And a tournament is going to be 1100 minimum, right? Most of them are going to be 1200. So that gives you 600,000 to buy stuff. That's 1 or 2 proper tiered stars. So the stunty teams, because of their value, they get the star players, and those star players make the difference in the team. Because goblins, I think, were the most powerful of stunties, and they are the most expensive of stunties. They get the worst of both worlds now. It's like being at the top end of your own tax bracket, right? You're going to get taxed, or the bottom end of a tax bracket. You're going to get taxed as much, and you're just not, you're not. That's exactly what's happening here. Is they don't get enough money to take Hackflem. You can take Hackflem, but you have to lose a troll. And then why are you running goblins? And that I think is what's hurting them, is that goblins cannot take star players that make enough of a difference because they cannot afford to. Sam, 1100, if you dropped 3 goblins and a reroll, you could have taken Hackflem. But at that point, you only got 12 dudes and 2 rerolls.
Gives me no bench. Yeah, that's it.
Which you also need with goblins.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, not because your line goblins are going to get wrecked, but because you've got 3 players who are going to get sent off.
Yeah.
So you need that depth to be able to backfill when that happens. I mean, again, with Milton, I managed to argue the call with 2 of my players.
Oh yeah.
Nuts.
Well, yeah, but it's self-destructive. The team is self-destructive as well, because Sam's got a roster that's 14 players, but he's really only got 11. So you lose 3 of those to take Hackflem, and by realistically by turn 4, you are playing with 8 players. And they fall apart.
You with that team, I think with goblins in general, you have to wreck face early on and get a numbers advantage. You've got to put 2 or 3 of their players out of action early, otherwise you lose your secret weapons, and all of a sudden it's like you've sort of depowered. You've you've lost your Superman without the cape kind of thing. And that's it.
Now there are a couple of things there for goblins that can happen, that can be good. One is that they can take Hackflem, but they have to lose some of the goblin identity. And I think that is something that really did hit goblins. And I think we actually called this right at the beginning of the edition. Goblins now have to play Blood Bowl to win the game. Before, they could just be goblins and win. Like, they could just do goblin things, goblining around, and sometimes they'd win a game by accident. Well, their play style has changed because of the makeup of the game. They have to actually play Blood Bowl and Cage and try to play for the team. They kind of got a little bit vanillaized because they lost that special player thing. The cost means they can't take Hackflem, and if they do, they have to give up the goblin thing. So you kind of either have to run vanilla goblins with trolls and Hackflem to play Blood Bowl, but then what's the point of playing goblins? You're playing goblins to chop up people and run amok.
Yeah.
And
I was going to make that exact point. Like, at that stage, why not just run an underworld team?
Yeah. You have your troll, you have your goblins, you just have players that can actually do the game part.
Yeah.
Better than goblins. Yeah.
Well, I tell you one thing that I think is really lucky, really fortunate, is the fact that the Black Orc team cannot take Underworld Challenge. So
they'd be unstoppable.
So you cannot run because I was going to say, like, if you want to run a game with goblins doing goblin-y things, Underworld you get mutations, Black Orcs you get Black Orcs, but also they've got thick skull, so they are way more survivable. So goblins are not the best goblins, and some things we might see happen is actually maybe inducing Hackflem to run him a bit differently, or actually one good combo that I don't think I've seen used enough when it comes to goblins is their dirty player, star player, mixing him up with the fact that the trolls can take guard early on.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Because that means if both trolls have got guard and you knock a dude down, that's dirty player +3 if he's in 2 guard tackle zones. And
is that the Black Goblin? Sorry.
No, this is the hoodlum. The hooligan.
Oh, the hooligan.
He gets dirty.
Not the star player.
Yeah, he just gets dirty player +1 and dirty player stacks with guard now.
Yeah.
But then again, like, the problem is
he's expensive though. He's like double the cost of a goblin. That's why I didn't take him.
And Snotlings do it better. Snotlings have still got 2 trolls, and they've got up to 2 dirty player pieces. And it's a bit of a shame, and I don't see goblins coming back. And I think this bottom tier goblin stuff until we start seeing star players nerfed, is going to be bad. But this is also something I'm quite worried about. Is we can always look at tournament sets and be like, cool, let's just give tier 3 extra stuff. That is not going to help, because that just means that halflings, ogres, and snotlings get better. This is just a goblin situation.
I think when we know that the stars are in BB3, so we can safely assume they're gonna hit tabletop as well at some point.
Yeah,
I think goblins are going to get them. It's going to fix a lot of their problems. They're going to get a lot more. Like you were on about the hooligan. I would never take him in a million years, even if I had the option for. So if I had the option for stars, I would take fungus and have 2 fanatics instead of an hooligan.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see what Scrapper is like as well. Because actually, if he's a legitimate scoring threat, there isn't Hackflem. If he comes in and he lands at 100k. He's movement 7 and he's got, I don't know, a power that allows him to re-roll elite roll once a game or something, because it's going to be something like that, isn't it? Well, actually, then you've got yourself a scoring threat, and a cheaper alternative, and then you can take him and you can take Fungus the Loon and you get that goblin action. But I think realistically, with the way this format is panning out, even if star players get nerfed, goblins aren't going to get the advantage until they get their arsenal of weapons back. And I think ultimately, when it comes to running goblins, I mean, Sam, why did you run goblins? Why goblins?
Purely because I wanted to cause chaos, and they're kind of I was going into it with the kind of a like balls to the wall attitude, which is why I did exactly what I did against Milton. It paid off exactly 1 out of 3 games, which is kind of the numbers match up, I guess, nearly.
You got hack flamed twice, didn't you?
Yeah, but I mean,
But you still held your own enough to win the Stunty Cup.
yeah.
So you can win the Stunty
So,
Cup winning only one game. And Ben, I mean, you're pro Goblin as well, but like, why Goblins? What's the angle?
I mean, they're just fun. Like, I mean, they don't have to win. They're just fun. Like, they're probably the most characterful team in my opinion. I think, like,
yeah.
it's what brought me into the game. I knew about goblins in Blood Bowl before I really knew about Blood Bowl. So like I remember when I was first like introduced to Blood Bowl, I just thought, was that the game where you can like throw goblins? Like, they just have so much identity, and I think playing a goblin team to play a goblin team is more important than playing a goblin team to win the game. So
Definitely.
I massively agree. And I think that is why getting that second chainsaw guy, the second ball and chain guy, to give you the opportunity to just be more goblin is gonna be enough for those people who want to run goblins. I think the fact they've got a garbage win percentage doesn't matter to goblin players, because they are there to just watch the world burn. They get to live their Joker fantasy from the Dark Knight. They're just Michael Caineing it across the pitch through your team, and that's enough. But we do need to see Fungus and Nobbler back to give them the opportunity to just double down with those secret weapons.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, their win percentage doesn't bother me as a Goblin player. It bothers me just as a general Blood Bowl player, that particularly their percentage and Underworld's percentage. That discrepancy is mad.
Yeah, it's the only outlier though, which is, I think literally every other one is between 45 and 55, with the exception of Demons of Khorne, which are
Yes.
sitting at 43, which is a bit weird. But
I think the common denominator is the star players
Yeah,
in the two.
yeah,
So that's kind of
hugely so.
Yeah.
And I think as Badlands Brawl actually do get, their star players are garbage. Like,
Yeah.
there's the Black Gobbo, who is fun, but certainly not superb in any way, shape, or form. You got Varag, who, like, awesome model, but
Very expensive.
just a really bland star player for Griff cost. I
Yeah.
really don't get don't get your money's worth out of that one, and that's it for Badlands Brawls, basically. So we do need to see some stuff. Like, each of the other kind of alliances have got a fun dude and a powerful dude, and Badlands Brawls have kind of got neither at the moment. They are the destruction, faction here. Chaos. They've got Hackflem. The good guys have got Griff, and the Badlands Brawl guys are just kind of sitting in the middle there, waiting for that spark. But I mean, best thing they could do is release a Goblin Spike with some Goblin star players and a couple of Goblin only inducements. Would be the best way. I think there is an inducement in, is it Death Zone? Is it Fink the Fixer? Is he back now? Which means you can like argue the call on a 5+. The problem is that most of the Death Zone stuff doesn't allow him anyway. But you're right, guys. You've called it out. If you're running goblins, you're running goblins to run goblins. You're not running goblins to win games. And I think it's going to make those times you win a game even sweeter, because that sounds exactly like what happened. And I do wonder if we'll see any goblins at Bombvember. So we'll take a break and we'll go through our Bonvember predictions. So we've got our next tournament coming up in a week's time, and we started seeing some of the rosters come in, but we've not checked them yet. That's going to be my weekend thing, and through next week. But I thought it would be fun to get some predictions on the cards for some stuff that's going on, and then we can just go back in a week's time and kind of on the review and see how accurate we were. We talked kind of about the meta for the last couple of episodes. Now, the deal with Bombvember is that everybody gets a bombardier. So you are going to see goblins because, everybody gets a free goblin for Bombvember, which I thought was quite a fun way of doing it. I know, Ben, we had some bigger ideas, but ran out of time and stuff to get it sorted. But that just means that depending on what happens next year, we might be able to run it out for next year. So build wise, we'll come back to that funny bit in a minute. Build wise, what do we go for in the end? Was it 1100?
Yes. Yeah.
1100, and skills wise, tier 1 6 primary, tier 2 6 primary 1 secondary, tier 3 6 primary 2 secondary skills. No player may receive more than 2 skills, and star players can't be given skills. So tier 3 are your stunty boys, and I think the only thing I did was accidentally put Norse in tier 2, so we'll have to see. And everybody gets a bombardier. And does not take up one of your maximum of 16 player slots. This was just because it's remember the 6th of Bombvember, and that's the angle we took. We like to have a little twist, and we thought actually throwing bombs is insanely good fun. Let's get it to the pitch. So, as for predictions, let's have a look at the list. Right, let's go big. Let's start with, we don't know what teams are going to be there. We don't know how many coaches are going to be there. We've got 40 something signed up, but a couple are dropping out as we go. So I still think we'll be around about 38, 40 coaches. So let's start with Sam. What will the winning team be for Bombvember?
Oh, that's a cruel. Well, I mean, playing the odds, I would say Underworld, but
Sam?
I think people are probably wise to it now. You're right.
Is going for Underworld, potentially.
Yeah. I think we'll see it, but maybe people are wise to it now. No, I'm gonna say Underworld. Underworld are gonna win it.
That is not a terrible prediction, Underworld, there with the 60+ win percentage. BT, everyone's got a bomber. Who's going to win on the day?
See, I'm now thinking it might be something maybe even faster. Maybe like an elf team or something. Teams that can kind of hold their own but split up, because I don't know how much the bomb's going to come into effect here. But I mean, we've seen high elves do some weird stuff, and high elves have a bit more armor. I think they could do it because they can play the distance game and avoid the bombs. But again, the bombs might not matter. I hope they do.
And you know what? High elves also in the top 5 at the moment.
Yeah.
Or they were when I checked a few weeks ago. Might have changed ever so slightly, but at that point they were still in the top 5. High elves are a very good team choice. I'm going to go with Chaos Dwarves. I think to win with Chaos Dwarves, they've got the tackle advantage, right? You can do a bit of everything. Yeah. You do have access to Hack Phlegm, and you're getting free rolled a little bit of fun and a body with a bomber. So you can afford to pay, your 12 guys. 1100 is pretty limiting though. But even a Chaos Dwarf team with 1 Bull Centaur, Hack Phlegm maybe, and a free Bombardier in there, I think would have enough to counter the stuff. And quite frankly, having that front line and chucking bombs over would be pretty sweet. I like that combo. All right, Sam, winning stunty team. Who is going to take the stunty master title off you?
You know what? I think Goblins are going to be the real winner here because they get an extra Bombardier, which means they don't have to pay for a Bombardier on their roster, and that frees up some cash for something else.
Oh, I like that. That's interesting. Or they could go double bomb.
I was thinking that, but you can only throw once per turn, unless they go double bomb, so one gets sent off and the other one comes on.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I would like to see Goblins take that one. BT, stunty team of the.
I'm going to say Snotlings.
Snots.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Snotlings, and kind of for the same reason Sam said. I mean, they get a bomber, which is cheaper.
Yeah.
But we've seen Snotlings do some crazy stuff. Snotlings are really hard to play against.
Snotlings
and I think
wicked.
they're actually a really good team. So I fully expect to see Snotlings take the Stunty Cup.
I'm going to pitch for Ogres here. I'm going to pitch for ogres. 1100. They can fit they can fit Griffin, and you get an extra player that can do fun things as well. I think if you were going to run an ogre team, this is a pretty fun build to do it in. It's a bit cheap, so you get to use your strength advantage. If you can afford old Groberwald the build, it could be pretty sweet as well. Ogres used to have goblins. This is a nice way to bring them back into line. I like that. So we're looking to have around about 40 coaches on the day. Most popular star. We'll do.
Is it?
Yeah. Should we all just ignore Hackflem for this one and go for the second most popular star then?
Oh, Griff.
You reckon?
No, I don't reckon.
Really? I think it will, because he can catch the bombs. He can catch them and throw them back.
That is true, but this close to Halloween, you reckon we're going to see some necromantic teams? William Cheney?
Cheney for Sam. I like that.
Cheney.
I think that's sensible. You reckon Griff, Ben?
Yeah. I reckon Griff. Yeah. I think Griff's going to do well in this format.
All right.
I hadn't considered him catching bombs and throwing them back. That is dirty. That's filth. But that's true of any elf team. If you're going to throw bombs at like a team as well, they're going to launch them back.
Well, yeah, maybe I will take high elves to this.
I do have a high elf here. Just the high elf team that I've got is not painted, so I'm going to need to. We got what, like 8 days?
Got a whole week.
Yeah, scrap the door, Sam. It's high elf time.
All right. I actually think it's going to be Rumbelow.
Really?
1100 is quite low TV. People are definitely worried about Hackflem. Rumbelow, I'm pretty sure, comes with tackle, and he's cheap. I was thinking Carla, but actually, as far as the meta goes, which I don't think is how Blood Bowl players work, which I love, by the way, I think Rumbelow. I think we'll see more Rumbelows than anybody else, except for, Hackflem. I mean, I think Griff and Morg is probably the obvious choice. So anybody who's choosing Griff, it's kind of, net deck in the answers, but that's okay. The kind of person that has an airbrush.
Just shamed 20 coaches coming to get
No, I meant picking it for that question.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay,
take it. Morg is great fun. Like Morg and Griff, they are great fun. And I don't think they're the public. I think anybody who isn't Hackflem right now is fine, is safe for now, but very much like Twitter, at some point they're going to get cancelled. So, most popular teams by tier. So, Samwise, most popular tier 1 team.
Oh, tier 1.
Tier 1. So, tier 1 teams: Amazon, Chorf, Dark Elf, Dwarf, Human, Lizardman, Old World Alliance. I don't think so. Orc, Undead, Skaven, and Wood Elf. I love OWA. I just don't think they're going to be the most popular.
I think we'll see probably Skaven the most.
I hope so. Skaven have been underrepresented, I think.
Overshadowed by Underworld.
I think so, yeah. So Skaven, the Sam, BT, tier 1 teams. Most popular.
Dark Elf, maybe?
Oh, I would love to see these teams.
They are quite popular in tournament format.
So BT, Dark Elf. Now, I would probably pick Chorf here, but I think they're quite difficult to get hold of the models for, from a tier 1 point of view.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be I think Undead.
I did think that as well.
I don't think they're the best. So I really don't think they're the best in the meta or anything like that right now. But I think they're potentially all right. I mean, wise people.
They're quite a staple.
Yeah, I think wise. I think the wise pick here is Dwarf in tier 1.
Really?
I think they're in top 5 as well at the moment. I think they're representing well. They've got a good skill set. 1100 gets you a very tasty dwarf team. You get everything you want. And you
don't see many at Bonehead tournaments though.
We don't. It's really interesting. I think so far we've seen half a dwarf team at one of our tournaments. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
I've actually played against dwarves in a tournament setting.
I've not seen any of your tournaments. There.
Sam representing, maybe,
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe keeping it.
maybe. I don't know. Keeping that under my hat. You might see some high elves turn up.
Yeah, confused him now, Ben. Right, tier 2. Most popular team we expect to see: Black Orcs, Chaos, other Chaos. So Chaos Chosen, Chaos Renegades, Elven Union, High Elf, Imperial Nobility, Necromantic, Norse by accident, Nurgle, Tomb Kings, Underworld, Vampire, Khorne, and Slan. Do you think Underworld are going to be there again, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, it'll either be Underworld or I think Black Orcs are in with the shout. To be honest,
Yeah,
Quite popular.
I actually,
popular.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I reckon they'll be even. I mean, I
What?
realise
Why?
that I've written the question and that's not allowed as an answer, but you know. All right, I tell you what, let's do this one, but we're ignoring Underworld.
In that case, I'm gonna call it the Black Orcs. Yeah.
So, Blork for Sam. BT.
I was going to say Black Hawk too. I can't think of.
Either them
I just think
or
they're really solid and really popular.
maybe.
Tier 2's in a
Sorry?
tough sitch at the moment, isn't it? It's basically Underworld, Black Orcs, and then a whole bunch of teams people don't really take.
Because I'd normally say nobility, but I really haven't seen much nobility at tournaments. They
Necro are
don't
pretty
seem
decent.
that popular a pick.
Necro are definitely decent as well. But as for popular, I think Underworld is the obvious one. And then, yeah, I think so. BT, you going Black Orc as well?
Yeah, I've got to.
I'll say Necro because actually that's pretty popular. And like Sam said, it is Halloween. Right, tier 3, Sam. Most taken team at tier 3.
So what we got here: goblins, ogres, halflings, and snotlings. Is that it?
Indeed, for now, until Squigs get here.
The most taken team
What do you think we're going
is
to see
gonna
the most of?
be flings, 100%.
You reckon?
There's like a weird cult following around flings, isn't there? I don't really get it. People love them. I'm not sure why.
I've kind of got that as well. I don't get it myself. I don't feel that attached to halfling.
Yeah.
They do get
They are really
decent.
popular.
They get decent star player access, I think, but so do ogres now. I think they just
I
kind
think
of got a
it
better
depends.
angle.
I think it's beyond the tabletop. There's like a weird affinity for them. People find them cute. They're sort of mascotty. I don't know, the whole Hobbit thing. People love them.
Yeah.
I think that's what drove. The them to be treated so nicely with the current edition of the rules was people's reception of them.
That's pretty fair,
Fair
actually.
assessment, yeah.
BT, what do you reckon? Stunty team, most popular.
Can I say Snotlings again?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Most popular. I think we'll see one ogre team rock up and do really well. We'll have 2 snotling teams, 2 halfling teams. There's always a goblin guy. Love that solo goblin guy. So, it's really, I think it's snots with Hackflem. I do.
Yeah.
All right, we've got 2 more to go, guys. Over under here. So, Sam, there's going to be around about 40 teams. How many elf teams will we see? And do not say 8 out of 110.
So when you say elves, that's all of them: high elves, elf
Yep.
union, dark elves, wood elves, all together. Yeah,
Yes.
out of 40. Seven.
7 for Sam. BT?
Elf teams. Nah, I'm going lower. I'm going 5.
BT's going 5.
I don't think you see many elves at the moment.
Okay.
All
I
right.
feel like there's always a dark elf guy, isn't there? There's always a dark elf guy.
Oh yeah, no, I actually forgot about Dark Elves. Sorry.
Yeah, there's always
Forgot
one or
the
two dark elf guys. Right, you know what? I do think the dark
Oh.
elves running assassins right now is a great place to be, because stab does not care about your dodge. It only cares about your armor 8+, and they were a real nuisance when I played snotlings with them. I think in a 40-man tournament there'll be 2 dark elf guys, I reckon. No high elf people.
Yeah,
I
I've
reckon
changed my
we'll see. I reckon we'll see one high elf, mate. I reckon we will.
I hope so.
He's there getting his models ready.
If you want some top tips on how to paint a team really quickly, Sam.
No, I can't do it again. Don't make me.
Two. There's a couple, maybe 1 or 2 EU. I'm gonna go right in the middle of you. I'm gonna go 6.
Okay.
I hope there'll be 6.
I'm changing my answer though. I'm gonna put you in the middle again, but the other way, and go 8.
Ooh, all right.
I just forgot. I think we're gonna get multiple dark elf. I think we're gonna get genuinely like 5 dark elf coaches.
It would be nice to be overrepresented with agility teams. Agility?
Yeah.
With agility teams.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to see some dodge, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam's just grinding his way to the top. Oh, cool. What skills have you got on your troll slayers? Tackle. He's just going to turn up with a blue magic deck around his neck as well.
Yeah.
I've pretty much gone for the no fun allowed build, unfortunately, for everyone else who's going to play me.
To be fair, though, right? So 1100 dwarves. That's got to be 12 players, 3 rerolls, 6 primary skills. So that's what?
So
block.
I'll clue you.
Block.
I'll clue you in. I bought a box of dwarfs, and that is all 12 players. So that's 2 slayers, 2 runners.
Yeah, that's a solid build. You get the bench there. You can afford 3 rerolls. And I mean, it depends. Maybe 1 slayer with tackle, 1 with mighty blow, both blitzers with guard, and no. Oh, interesting.
So I've got 6 skills, yeah.
Yeah, 6 primary,
and I've got 6 longbeards.
Oh no!
6 longbeards with guard.
Oh my god! See, this is why I called you out the other day on the other episode where I was like, "There's going to be someone like Sam who just puts mighty blow on all of his corn players."
This isn't going out before the tournament, is it?
Yeah, it is. You've got time.
Oh no!
I dare you to put 6 frenzies on there instead.
Oh, can they even? Is frenzy a strength? No, frenzy's a general skill, isn't it?
Yeah, they get general.
Yeah.
Frenzy dwarf.
Yeah, right. And you'd have 8 frenzy players. It'd be wicked.
You know how when you put the slayers on the wide zones, everyone goes 2 squares in.
Yeah.
Like when you thought it was safe to go back
out.
So all 6 longbeards have got frenzy as well.
All right, 4 guard, 2 frenzy.
We'll see. I'll see what I can do.
All right. I've got one more question, which is another over and under. Although I've had a great idea for another one. How many underworld teams are we going to see?
17.
How can you imagine? It's just underworld and dark elves, and that 1 goblin guy.
4. And I think that's being generous.
4.
I don't think we'll see that many, but I think the ones we see will do really well.
I think with Underworld and with Snotlings right now, because they're popular, you're going to get there's going to be they're popular, I'll take them. I'll have a good chance at playing them. So kind of like, this is why you get like 30% extra Snotling players. It's because there are people who absolutely love Snotlings, and there are people who are like, oh, Snotlings are good and they're good fun, I'll run them. I think Underworld probably sit in that kind of realm of, there are people who are like, I want to win, so I'm going to take Underworld, and then there's going to be like, oh yeah, Underworld are pretty good, I'll take them. So I think you'll get that incidental. So I think 6.
Okay.
And
8.
Ben's going for 17.
1/5 Underworld.
1/5.
See, I think the most prohibitive thing about them is that there's no team box. So if you want to run them, you either have to convert some stuff or buy a box of Skaven and a box of Goblins.
It's an Underworld box, isn't there?
There
there?
was. It's gone away. Yeah.
Oh, is it gone?
Yeah.
Oh,
I do have a
okay.
sealed one under my bed for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Come with a gutter runner, does it?
Yeah, one sprue of Skaven and one sprue of Goblins. It was perfect.
Oh, right, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
They
do
specifically put him in there, yeah.
you remember back when that was the Blood Bowl news of the year? Like,
Yes.
this is my
Yeah,
favourite
good
thing.
times.
2019, we're like, oh my god, they've changed Underworld.
What?
Yeah,
Gutters,
was
what?
wicked.
Just stole Hangover Bowl.
yeah. Oh, I love Hangover Bowl.
outrageous.
We need to do that again, Ben.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Right. I do have one more question that we've got to run with now, which is the best skill up that you think we're going to see.
The best skill up.
Yeah,
What, like most creative?
the most
or...
creative, or the skill
I
up
reckon
you want to see.
Frenzy
God,
of
Longbeard.
Feynman.
Do you know? I think frenzy on anything is really rare.
Yeah, no one wants to put it on anything. It's too dangerous.
Frenzy on a non-positional is a pretty good one. I like that.
It's too late to paint my dwarfs red and have like a corn-themed dwarf team.
Corf. Yeah. What was it?
What's the Oh, sorry, Ben. What you gonna say?
No. Please go.
I was going to say, what's the one that boosts deflection?
Very long legs.
Yeah, because of the bombs.
Mutation, very long legs. Could see it on some goblins in
Yeah.
Underworld teams and things like that.
Pass block could be a good shout, actually. Now you mention it.
On the ball.
Yeah, that's true.
The ball. Oh, it's
Yeah.
on the ball, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On the ball would be good as well. What was it that? I think your brother put a really good skill. I think it was very simple. I think he went with tackle on an ogre, and it was a bit like, oh, that's unusual, and turned out to be a superb decision.
Oh, what was this in the last tournament?
Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember what he took now.
I can't remember either. It's forever ago.
I know he always gives kick to the runt punter because that's always a jolly. So he probably won't be able to make it.
Yeah.
But looking at his roster, he's done me proud, and all 5 ogre blockers have got brawler.
Nice. Oh, he gave kick to a Noblar last time.
He's done it this time as well. Kick and sure
lad.
hands with 2 Noblars.
I
And then leader on the runt punter.
do think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's a skill, and he's nothing else to give him, really, is there?
Noblars.
Once you've skilled up all the ogres, it's like,
Yeah,
what
when
can you
you've
give a
got
Noblar?
well, if you've got doubles, then something like Dauntless is cracking. I put Wrestle on one when I went to, was it Birmingham Brawl? And I can't remember. I think it was it.
Oh, that's when you took your Nurglings, right?
Yeah, and I put Wrestle on one, and my whole goal for the entire tournament was just to randomly wrestle somebody down with him, and I did. And I like sacked the ball carrier with my Wrestle Noblar. It was wicked. It was absolutely brilliant. There you go. That's my shout. Wrestle on a stunty player. That's my call out. Because I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Right then, guys. I think we've talked enough about Blood Bowl. It's quite cool. We break now. In a week's time, we get the tournament, and then a week after, we'll be chatting about it. So that's quite a good call around. Mr. Frenzy, thank you ever so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Always fun to talk Blood Bowl nonsense with you. And BT, always fun. I hope you guys get your painted projects done. Yeah, I will see you both Saturday, if not before.
Yes.
Wicked.
Catch you later.
Right. Thanks very much for
Later.
watching and listening, and we'll see you soon. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead Podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.